So most customers or our clients don't understand the difference between logos and branding. So how do you educate them? Do you try to educate them? And how do you educate them? And do you use any tools?
Um, I don't know. I don't think I would use any tools. The only tools I would use is my knowledge with regards to the many years that I look back and I've helped develop lots of different brands, even if it's been, as I said, from a simple business card design that they might end up taking to their letterheads, taking to everything else. Then it ends up on the side of their trucks or something like that. I try to paint a bit of a bigger picture for them. That's all you can do. You've got to try and educate them in a way that they might understand with regards to their own business, the opportunities they could be missing out on if they ignore what the possibilities are for their brand. Often it's a case of, I don't have the money, but it's always good to present those scenarios to them, because the fact their brand is everything someone's going to see about their business. So do they want to actually risk having it look substandard, I suppose? I think that's the best word. Trying to encourage them that the investment is worth, like it's an investment, not just a cost, but an investment to the business.
So you feel like once the customer understands that branding is not like just something, it's more of an investment, and it's how their target audience are going to see them, then that'll help them in understanding?
Yeah, I think so. I think once they see past it being a cost to the business, that it's more of an investment, that it's something that could be detrimental to them if they don't actually consider it, at least. They tend to change their tune because they didn't see it that way in the first place. They thought I'll spend $5 on Fiverr or whatever, get something that might look good, might look decent, but it won't reflect their business. It won't reflect the message their business is going to give. When I was in primary school, high school, back in the day, they called it graphic communication. So it's not just graphic, it's not just a design, it's communicating a message to the customer. So whatever it may be for them, it's something that reminds the customer that their target audience, who they are, what they represent. Okay.
So according to you, like each person has their own idea of brand identity. According to you, what is brand identity?
Brand identity to me is the identifying systems or images that tells people who they are. Like it could be the logo. The logo is a brand identity. Could be icons they use. It could be the colours they use, or a combination of them, or a pattern they might use on their packaging. It's a combination of all these things. It's a visual identity. It's something that indicates that it's them. It's something. It's like their face. It's like everyone. If everyone was faceless, we wouldn't recognise everybody. But everyone's got a particular type of face, the eye colour, their skin colour, their hair colour, all that sort of stuff. It's the same sort of thing. It identifies the brand. It doesn't tell the customer necessarily everything about the brand, but identifies them from their competitor or the next person beside them, sort of thing.
So all clients and prospective clients are not created equal. Each one has a different need, and we need to present clients with various solutions. It may be designing something or designing a logo, or fine tuning something that they already have. So when it comes to presentations, when you present something on behalf of Impressions Designs to your various clients, how do you maintain a brand identity across all services? Because you are someone, and Impressions Designs is a business that wears more than one hat. So how do you maintain the identity?
I believe it's a I could talk about this for quite a while, but I believe that to a certain extent, with regards to my target audience, which is at the moment is developing small businesses. That's why my logo underneath it says growth by design.
Mm-hmm.
It's all, everything I do for my business is to help other business grow.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of it has to do with the business owner themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If they are the identity of that business, particularly with small business owners,
Mm-hmm.
everything about them is going to reflect their brand. So ethics, how you conduct yourself, how other people perceive us as a business owner, and that's what I love about working with small businesses, because you get to work with the decision makers, you get to work with the people behind the business. You're not talking to an employee. Occasionally you might get to talk to an employee, but you can go straight to the head person and get to know them, build a relationship with them. And I feel that that's, as I've mentioned before, I think that's what we've got to aim for, is building relationships with people, not just selling them a service, but building that relationship with people. I think that's really important. I think that's where a lot of young designers can learn to do better. They can learn to do that better, because regardless of how good you are, how skilled you are as a business owner, if you cannot sell your product or cannot sell yourself, you can't be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pin your skills up on a board and rely solely on them.
Mm-hmm.
The best people in the world could be the smartest people in the world, but if they haven't got the social skills,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be as successful as they could be if they did.
True. That's
It's getting to building those relationships. I think that's the key issue here.
Mm-hmm. So to paraphrase you, it's like you make sure that you establish a human connection, and
Yes.
that's how you project your brand Impressions Designing by Growth.
I think that by far that's the most important thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Look at people like Steve Jobs and Richard Branson. They are their brand. Well, Steve Jobs isn't with us anymore, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. They're the personality. They're the person behind the brand.
True.
They're well known too. They're very successful people.
Mm-hmm. I personally admire Steve Jobs very much, because he had once paraphrased Apple. He had said that he made Apple by marketing the design which his friend wanted to give out for free, because Wozniak actually wanted to give out the prototype of and the blueprint of making the first Macintosh. He wanted to share it with everyone for free. But Jobs was the one who was like, no, this has potential. When you give it out for free, this is not going to be valued as much. But if you sell it, then people are going to realize what it is. What?
I think that's also valuing yourself. I think that's important. Yeah, so I think you've got to think of well-known people who we admire. They are their brand, like celebrities that we might see as good role models. They're their brand. they're human underneath, but they are a product of marketing, but it's very, the marketing can go either way. They've got to be the brand.
True.
So that's how I see branding. And business is no different. I don't think business is any different. I think it's all business. It's all about solving problems and making a living, I think.
So
we can't, sorry.
Go ahead.
I said we can run the risk of devaluing anything in our industries if we're looking solely at just the price and the product. We've got to, so that could go either way. But placing value on people is important, I think, and yourself, of course.
So you started out in 1997, and when you started designing apps like, do-it-yourself apps like Canva and others were not even there. So what do you, how do you perceive the impact of apps like those when it comes to designing? Has it like any impact on?
You've done your research. That's good. I'm impressed. I used to think, oh yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a threat, but it hasn't. And people have said, oh, it's going to be a threat, but I haven't felt that because of the fact that good design really is about the mentality, the approach, the procedures, the skills that people like us have built up over the years, have been trained in. And fair enough, people will always want to do it yourself type projects like renovations and all sorts of stuff. But I'll compare it to something like the building industry. The building industry is booming at the moment, but so is the renovation industry. So I don't think that things like Canva will ever replace good graphic design, because it's not about what it looks like. And I've been thinking about this quite a lot recently. It's not about what the piece of, whether it's a print work or it's a flyer or whatever, it's not about what it looks like. It's about the message it gets across. So you can have a really pretty looking piece of work, but if it doesn't give out the right message, it's failing. It's not doing its job. And a good designer will know the hierarchy of text and what needs to be highlighted and what doesn't need to be highlighted. And although a piece of something quite nice looking might be able to be designed in Canva, and it might be successful in its message, but it might not be either, because they're the skills that people can learn those skills if they want to learn them, but it won't replace graphic design. Well, I don't think it will.
It's good to hear, and it's kind of close to my principle too. I'm like, you could have the perfect design, but unless you know how to use it, it's not worth it. So even if you make something with Canva, the human touch of a designer is what's going to teach them or enlighten them on how to use the design. And design is a visual form of communication. And at the end of the day, you need to talk. Like, how many of us like to talk to the Autobots or the phone systems that goes press one and press two? No, totally get that. So what?
Keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what I've learned over when I first started out, I was all for the fancy sort of stuff, like the fancy fonts and the fancy illustrations and logos that have got lots of different colours in them and all that sort of stuff. But as I've got more experienced, I've realised that the simpler it is, the more effective it is. And I'm really minimalist now. Like a good image with a bit of text and a bit of a message is far better to me, to my eye, than something that's got text all over it It's trying to explain everything about a business. I try to keep it minimal, cut the message through clearly, and if they want any more information, all the information would be to get the extra information like their website or something else would be on that literature anyway. So with websites and Facebook and all that sort of stuff, the information's all there. You just don't have to put it bang on one piece of work.
Mm-hmm. So what would be your advice for businesses who are like starting out or relaunching? How should they approach design branding, like any kind of design, like how, like logos, business cards? So what would be your take for them?
I would say start simple. I've always started, and this is just how it's developed over the years. I've always started with businesses coming to me for either a business card or a logo. Right. So therefore I combine those two, and in my package, my logo package, I supply them with a set of business cards, simply because of the fact that it almost validates the business now, because they've got something printed and they can give out to people. It makes them feel special. It's give them validation. It sort of qualifies them as a business owner. And it puts sort of edge on their heart to say, I'm now a business owner. So I would say businesses, invest in your business as if it was a child, or it was something really important to you that you want to see grow, you want to see develop into something a little bit more substantial than what you are starting look into the future a bit more than just tomorrow, because somewhere down the track, if you're and there is possibility that a lot of businesses starting out start off small, then they rebrand in the future. But somewhere down the line, you're going to have to spend that money anyway. Mm-hmm. So if you've got the investment, I think if you've got the money to invest, I think it's worthwhile investing in your branding, because your graphic designer could become your best friend with regards to your business, because they will learn to understand what works best for you, and they will build a relationship with you that could be invaluable to your business. So yeah, it's okay to start off. And another thing I want to give advice, and I give this a lot of advice to small businesses, is don't get stuck in the template rut. What I'm saying by that is a lot of online sources like Vistaprint and other business sources will give you free templates. Mm-hmm. But don't rely too long on those if you can possibly get off them as quickly as possible, because of the fact that you don't want people to know you for that template, because that template doesn't belong to you. Mm-hmm. And Joe Blow down the street might have the same template. And I've seen that so often. There are popular templates that people use for their business cards or their flyers or whatever, but they're still owned by the company you're borrowing them from. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Get a custom design to you that you own it, that nobody else is going to have. Mm-hmm. Because it's like wearing the same dress to the prom as someone else. And it might be okay for a very short period of time as a start off, but don't get reliant on them, because I've seen people rely on them and it just doesn't look good, because you know where those templates are coming from, and they're off the shelf, like going to buy Kmart for a t-shirt that someone else is wearing. But that's all right if it's generic for everyday use, but for a business, I don't think it's applicable. I don't think it's appropriate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. The same goes for logos too. I mean, you get pre-made logos of sites, and they're like, I was doing a little research.
Yeah,
And it
definitely.
was like, like the top 10 logos made on one platform, they all look the same. So there is no uniqueness.
I've also just written something um, about maybe even disrupting your industry with regards to, well, say for instance, banking and finance, legal and all that sort of stuff. All the logos tend to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to stand out in your industry, there's nothing wrong with not looking the same. You know what I mean? Because they all start to look a little bit generic. If you can, there's one, say for instance, there's one local real estate agent here in my area that's extremely successful,
Mm-hmm.
but their colour is 100% magenta.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't think 100, which is a very bright pink. I call it a very bright pink.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think that a real estate agent would have their branding as magenta,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in your face and
Mm-hmm.
it's very recognisable straight away against something that might be blue and yellow or blue and blue or typical what you would call corporate sort of colours.
Mm-hmm.
They've chosen something disruptive and it's worked really well for them. So be adventurous with regards to that as well, I'd say.
So it makes them stand out.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, there's a fear of being, I can say sort of try and stay away from being generic.
Mm-hmm.
Circles, squares,
Mm-hmm.
sort of, yeah, be a bit bold. Maybe even just one colour with either black and white or one colour and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think those, and as I said before, simple and recognisable, iconic. Yeah.
Definitely. That was good advice, Matthew. I think it's really going to be useful because most people who start out tend to think too much into it, and they want their businesses or branding to say everything they do. It's kind of like a list of services that they want represented. But when they keep it simple, it'll be more memorable, and that's a real good takeaway from.
But I also think that, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there with regards to having their brand, their logo, basically draw a picture of their business.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you look at things like Apple, it's not a computer, is it? It's an apple. So it doesn't need to be a picture of what you do, like a picture of a house or whatever for a real estate company. The rooftop sort of thing is very generic, used a lot in various ways, and they start to look a little bit like they look like templates. They look like pre-drawn templates you might get off
Mm-hmm.
Google or
Some
Prepix.
clip art or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So
Keep it really simple. Yeah.
So yeah, I just got reminded of something I read about how Apple came to be Apple. So looks like they were like discussing, Steve and his team were discussing what to name it. And Steve had just gotten back from an apple farm the previous day. He was kind of camping there. And so he told him, if we don't find a name that we all like by the end of the day, I'm just going to name it Apple and be done with it.
I love it. It's good though, because you can, with virtually anything, even if it doesn't reflect the business, you can make it. You can make it about the business just through the marketing and through the branding. Like, just put it out there. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be obvious. My picture, I've just finally, after years, because I rebranded my business in 2013, and it was just a text logo. It's just a text logo for many years, and only recently and I've toyed around with the idea of growth by design, of the eye in impressions becoming a tree. It's like growing like a budded tree. And I wanted to reflect growth and newness of life and all that sort of stuff. But if you saw it on its own, you wouldn't know that I was a graphic designer. But that doesn't matter to me because it's a whole holistic approach to my business. It looks good together, and it's all about growth. It's all about what I want to depict in my business is about growth. Whether I'm doing design or what, impressions can be anything. It's about giving the impression. So it doesn't have to be stuck on just graphic design. It could be video, it could be connection with people, introducing people to people, forming those relationships. So it's a bit more than just, oh, this hat here, like you say, many different hats. It's I think with regards to me personally as a business owner, my growth has been the business growth as well. So I think it's probably can say that about any business, but you don't want to be stuck in the stereotype of just a graphic designer. You want to see yourself as more than just that. You want to, you're a relationship builder, you're a problem solver, you're storyteller, you know what I mean, sort of thing. Yeah. So that's how I see the approach to it anyway.
That's a really nice take on it. Thank you, Matthew. This has been a really resourceful session, and I learned a lot talking with you over these last 30-35 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that small businesses, especially the ones who are looking into branding and getting themselves started, have taken away a lot from this one, because you have 20 plus years of experience, and you have condensed these 20 plus years of experience into these 30 minutes, and not all of it, some of it that is really useful to them. So you probably have helped them a lot. Thank you so much.
I hope so, and it's been a pleasure, because I love talking about it, and I love realizing it in my own brain as well. Like, I love processing that whole thought pattern of what I am, who I am, and how far I've come as well. It's sort of almost a reflection of where I've come from, when those memories all those years ago, reliving all those memories, and how grateful I am to be where I am now. So thank you for that. Thank you for that journey. Nope. And it's been lovely to talk to you, and hopefully I can help someone out there, even just one person would be good. All right. Thank you. I hope everything went well.